Hello everybody and welcome back to creating a horror game from scratch. Today we're going to continue with the implementation of the game instance by fixing up a few of the ghosts coding. Then we're going to have some fun and start adding a little bit of detail to the level just to mix things up, do something a little bit different, and also give you guys something new. That way we're not just doing maintenance in this episode. In this series, we'll be making a horror game from the ground up and teaching you everything along the way. From researching, theorizing, and prototyping, to main menus, UI, and sound. Join me and follow along to become the master game developer you want to be. As I said, we're going to be doing things in the game instance, so go ahead and get yours open. Mine is already open up here at the top, and the thing we're going to be changing is this function we have up here where we change the player held item. We're still going to call this, we're still going to ask for the item. However, what we're mostly going to be changing is we have this node here where we're getting all actors of class. This node is very heavy on your system. So there are niche cases where this will be fine, but if we can avoid it, we're going to. And now I do know how to avoid it. So we're going to create a variable that gets updated with all the current active ghosts. It will add them and remove them as they enter and exit the world. So that way we always know what ghosts are active. So in order to fix this, we need to create a variable, and we're going to call this active ghosts, just like that. We're going to change the variable type over to BP. Oh, that's my new naming convention. I apologize. We're going to change it over to the parent ghost, and we're going to make it an object reference. And we're going to right click it to make it an array. And we're going to go ahead and compile and save. Now we're going to create a custom event, and we're going to call this add ghost. And this is going to require an input. So on the right hand side, go ahead and hit this little plus in the details panel and just name this ghost. The variable type is going to be parent ghost, and it'll just be an object reference, this time not an array. And we're going to hit compile and save. Go ahead and pull active ghosts out onto the event graph and hit get. From active ghosts, we are going to pull out, and we're going to type in add unique. So that way, if it triggers twice, it won't accidentally add it to the array twice. We're going to plug these in to the node as such. And now we're going to do the same thing on another custom event, but it's going to be called remove ghost. It is also going to require an input. Luckily, it should already have parent ghost set. This will just be ghost as well. And now we're going to pull out active ghost and hit get again. And we're going to pull out of active ghost. And this time we're going to hit remove item. Plug this in. Plug the ghost in. Now we'll make a couple comments. Add ghost to the active ghosts array. Remove ghosts from the active ghost array. Make these a bit bigger. Separate them a little bit. And then we'll grab them again. We'll make a bigger comment around both. Adding. Actually, so on the bigger comments, I actually like to do something where the first 2 to 3 words lets me know what the entire thing is. So that way, if it has to be a sentence, I don't have to read the whole sentence. I could go, oh, this is blah, 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 move on. So in this case, I'm just going to literally put active ghosts for now. And now I know this comment is active ghosts. And with it being ghosts, I'm actually going to leave it as a white comment because of ghosts. I think that just makes sense. Also, give me a moment. I got a couple plugins I want to show you guys really quick. And we're back. So you can see that things look a little bit different here. Just a heads up immediately, I'm not sponsored. I just really enjoy these. They clean up the lines of your nodes really well. And if you have something that has a lot of nodes or lines connecting, it does a really good job actually smoothing out the visual of those lines so you can actually see where they're going. And I have a feeling the more we work today, the more you'll see some of this, these two plugins in action. What they are named is electronic node is what causes the lines to be straight like this, whereas darker nodes is what gives it the much darker look and makes the nodes a little bit more smooth looking. Again, they're not free, but I'm also not sponsored, but I really enjoy these in case you guys want to check them out. They are going to be in the description below. Anyway, we created an add ghost and a remove ghost function for the active ghosts array. Now what we need to do is the game instance actually isn't going to actively be looking for new ghosts. Instead, what's going to happen is we're going to move over to our parent ghost. And within the parent ghost, we are going to, luckily, as you can see, we should already be getting the game instance ref. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new custom event in here. And we're going to call it alert game instance. Actually, that is normally what I would call it. But in this case, I'm not going to because we need it to both add and remove. So we're going to add active ghost. And we'll make another custom event and we're going to hit remove active ghost. So basically active ghost is going, or add active ghost is going to be called immediately on spawn. So let's go ahead and go up here to the event begin play and create a little bit more space for us. And the second we get spawned in, we are going to pull out of this line here and we are going to add active ghost. And now what we're going to do on the active ghost is we're going to get the game instance ref from our variables, and we are going to call that function. We are going to add ghost, which is the function we created in the game instance. As you can see, we have the input that we required. We're just going to pull out of that and type in the word self, and bam. So now I'm literally going to just copy get game instance ref and self, and we're going to paste it underneath the remove. And out of the game instance ref, we're going to remove ghost. So let's go ahead and create a comment on the active ghost. And for adding the active ghost, when we spawn, we tell the game instance we've entered the game world. Go ahead and increase the size of this comment. I will say, I love this plugin, but I wish the default node color wasn't black because to me, it basically doesn't even exist whenever it looks like this. But that's just me. I am also colorblind, so there's a very good chance this is way more visible for you guys. I can't see it. I'm going to go ahead and just make it white. We're going to go with the theming of keeping all of our ghost comments white. I think that makes sense. We'll create a comment here. When we get detected, let me change that wording. When we get killed or destroyed, we remove ourselves from the instance. And then we'll do an overall comment adding and, oh wait, hold on. I gotta remember my own rule for bigger comments. Game instance dash active ghosts. Like that. And again, white. Okay, let's take a look at what we did. We made sure on event begin play, we are immediately saying to the game instance ref, we are an active ghost, and if we are killed or destroyed, which we don't have that code in here yet, we will call, well, I died, so remove me from the active ghosts. And now, this active ghosts array is going to update dynamically because the ghosts are doing it themselves. Which means if we take a look at how we did this in a previous episode, instead of getting all actors of class, which is absolutely heavy on the system, we're just going to delete that. And instead, we're going to pull out active ghosts like this. We're just going to do a get. And we can plug that straight into the for each loop. And take the set, plug it into the for each loop. And check it out. The game no longer has to look in its own directory and be like, oh god, what ghosts are active? Because we're already updating it in real time, and it doesn't have to do any searching. No searching's being done. The parent ghost does it itself. It says, hey, I'm in the world. make it happen. Game Instance goes, all right, I've added you to the list. I hope you guys are starting to see the power of the game instance and why it is so important. Remember to compile and save your game instance. And for today, that's all the maintenance will do. I might find more maintenance, but for now, you guys are doing great if you've made it this far in the series. I just want to thank you all so much. You guys are doing great. Hang in there. Let's do something fun. We've been spending so much time in code lately that I figured it's time to do something fun. And what we're going to do is we're going to add materials to everything here in the world and just try to make it look a little bit nicer for the hell of it. I'm going to show you a fun website. I'm going to go ahead and open up my browser here. And we're going to go to a website called AmbientCG. This website has 1,968 assets, and this number goes up almost every time I visit. These are all kinds of CC0, which is Creative Commons Zeros, which means that it's public domain materials that you can use in your game. Now, obviously, they're not stylized, but they are realistic. So if you're going for a realistic vibe in your game, perfect website. And it's also a good website to go to if you're blocking out a level. Yes, eventually you might want those stylized graphics, but those take time. It takes an artist, you know, they need time to prepare and get those ready for you. But here, you can come, check out all these amazing materials, and start blocking out your levels, or just use them. I'm gonna scroll back to the top here, and let's look at floors. So there's all kinds of things you can type in to look for a specific type of thing, but I'm just gonna type in the word floor. And these are the materials that have been deemed worthy of being a floor. So I think in my hallways, I'm gonna do some kind of carpet, and then in the main office, we'll do some sort of hardwood floor. So let's go ahead and choose a carpet. Let's go ahead and type in the word carpet. These are the carpets I have to choose from. I'm going to pick this one right here. I like this one. So if we click on it, you'll see we get a preview. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see we have all kinds of different sizes. Now, things to note about this. Look at the left-hand side. You'll see that these are JPEGs. They start at 8 megabytes and go all the way up to 463 megabytes. That's right. The 8K JPEG is half of a gig. So if you plan on using massive textures, not only is that going to be very heavy on your system, your game file is going to be absolutely massive. So my recommendation for a lower fidelity game, go with the 1K. For a higher fidelity game, go with the 2K. And if you know what you're doing, go with the 4 or the 8K. Even in my experience, I max out at 2K. I say, listen, 2K looks great. And you'll see that 2K does look great because that's what I'm going to download. I also forgot to mention, unless you know what you're doing, don't get the PNG. This is for translucency and things like that. For the most part, our materials do not need to be translucent. So we're just going to go straight with the 2K JPEG here. So now that I got it downloaded, I went ahead and extracted it. So what I like to do with the naming convention to keep things nice and simple is I just right-click this, I rename it, I hit right, and then I just delete back until we just have carpet 004. Obviously, my project doesn't have any carpets right now, but if I need to go back and reference this on the website, I've got the name right here. I'm going to go ahead and open this folder because we're only going to use some of the files that are located in here. First thing is first, unless you know what these are, don't even worry about it for right now. Get rid of the USDA, USDC, and the JPEG on the right-hand side. We are not going to be using the displacement, so you can go ahead and delete that. And by default, the Unreal Engine uses DX, not GL, so go ahead and delete the GL. Now that our folder is nice and cleaned up, go back to the root folder, and we are going to drag this straight into our content. So let's make sure we have a folder created. We already have the imported folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, and we're going to call this AmbientCG. I'm going to open that up, and within this folder, I'm going to drag in carpet 004 into the content browser. And now you'll see we have all 4 already here and ready to go. Now, you can create the material and put it within the carpet 004 folder. I, for one, don't enjoy doing that because then if I want to get to material, it's an extra folder deep. So I actually go to the AmbientCG folder, one folder up, and I create the materials here. So the raw files are within their folders, but the materials are on the AmbientCG folder. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a material. And I'm going to call this Carpet 004. I lied. I'm going to call it Matte _ Carpet 004. And I'm going to open it up. With it open, it's basically just plug and play. Go back into your Carpet 004 and you'll see that we have one called Color. If we pull this out, there's an RGB here. Plug that into base color. Then, if you look, we have metallic, specular, and then look, roughness. Well, we have a roughness folder or a roughness file. Let's go ahead and pull that out. RGB straight into roughness. Then we go down a little bit. Oh, normal. We've got a normal. Let's pull that out. Also, the normal is the coolest part. If you're not used to materials, so I want you to look at the lighting on the left-hand side of this preview here. Do you see how this looks flat? Like, you can tell with the light hitting it, it looks flat. Are you ready to see how much detail the normal map adds? It's so awesome. Plug that straight in there and watch. Oh my God. Look at all the extra detail you get, and it's fake. It's not even real. It's still flat, but it doesn't look like it, and I love it. And last but not least, we have an ambient occlusion. Now, you don't have to plug them in the same order that I plugged them in. The reason I did it like this is because through experience, I just remember the order that these are in, and I want them to be as organized as possible. Let's go ahead and just save that material and head back to the security office. Now, I don't remember exactly how I did this. Is all this floor one thing? No, I did do it correct. Okay, so for our hallways, let's go ahead and go back to our AmbientCG folder. And it's as simple as this, guys. I'm looking at the floor. I'm going to drag that material and I'm going to drop it on the floor. And you'll see we have carpet. Now, there is a chance that there are areas of this carpet that do not look very good. Like, for example, I can already tell this wall here is doing it. The floor is not doing it, which is a bad example. So I'm going to put it on the wall, even though that doesn't make sense, so you can see what I'm talking about. So, unfortunately, the material is so good at being dynamic that it doesn't even matter. Hold on. Let me get that off the wall. Anyway, when we get a wall material, you'll definitely see it. But the whole point of me talking about this to begin with is whenever you create something with the cube grid, like you can see, like, do you see these lines going up the wall here? Not the grid, but the lines. Like, you can see how the grid is messed up here. Like, you see how these are one size, then you got really long ones, and then you got one size and then really long ones. That is the UV being messed up. The UV tells the engine how to wrap something, how to make it look nice. Well, when you use the cube grid, sometimes the UVs don't turn out right. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift 5 on our keyboards, which will open up the modeling mode, and we are going to scroll down, and then you'll see that we have this thing here called UVs. Now, there's a lots of options here. I don't know how to use all of them. I'm just going to be honest with you, but I do know how to use project, and project is all we're going to need. If you go ahead and click project, you'll see that immediately, look how big the carpet got. That is not the kind of carpet we want. That is massive. And the reason that it did that is by default, what project is doing is it's saying, oh, this is the size of the model that you're trying to cover. Well, I'm going to make one instance of this material. So that means it's not repeating at all. It's using one instance of that material to cover the whole thing. But we don't want that. So the first thing we want to do, because this is a 3D model, is instead of on the projection type on plane, change this to a box. Then on the dimensions, this is something you can play with until you get something that you enjoy. So for example, I would say around 150 tends to be pretty good. So if I put around 150 on each of these, the UV is going to be nice and flattened out here. Again, this will be a better example on the wall. And even still, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it looks like because we don't have lighting. So I'm going to turn the lighting on real quick. And you'll see, so this is what the carpet looks like right now. See how it looks so much better with lighting? If you're ever messing with materials, it's best to have lighting turned on. And I would say this looks good. I would say this looks perfectly fine for our hallway. Which means at the bottom here, we're just going to go ahead and press accept. And so I can emphasize the point of the materials being messed up on the walls. We're gonna go ahead and grab a wall material, and I'm gonna change this back to unlit. Let's head to AmbientCG. So I imagine this being somewhat of an office building. So I'm actually gonna look for specifically plaster, and we will do one of the softer plasters, maybe this one right here. Oh, that's concrete. We don't want concrete. Plaster 1 isn't too bad, but that is pretty rough. But I think that might be the best we're gonna get for right now. Ooh, Plaster 2 looks like it might be a little bit better. I'm gonna go with Plaster 2. And again, I'm going for the 2K JPEG. Extracted it, and now I'm going to rename it back to just Plaster 2. I'm gonna head into the folder. We're gonna look for things we're not gonna use. We're not using the GL, and we're not using these last 3 files, and that cleans up the folder. We can use the rest of that. And we're gonna drag it into our AmbientCG folder here. Right click, material. Oh, I always do that. Matte underscore Plaster 2. Open it up. We got the color, roughness, normal, and I actually messed up. We only need the 3. Displacement we don't need. I thought that was ambient occlusion. I don't know why, so you can go ahead and remove the displacement from your project. And let's go ahead and save. With that material created, let's take a look at the wall and see just the issue I was talking about actually at hand here. Let's put the plaster on the wall. And there you go. You see how it's got this crazy, quick, repeated, ugly pattern going on? The plaster is actually one of the better of the materials, because if this was wood or something, you would see it cutting straight through parts of the wood that it should not be cutting through. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm gonna go grab one real quick. Quick aside, while I was grabbing the material, this one has metalness, which is just the metallic, and it's because it's got nails in it. So whenever you're going through cleaning up, cleaning up your folder, just double check. Look at this box here and say, do I have any of these? And just make sure you don't before you get rid of them. Okay, so I went and I made the wood material. Take a look at this. Yeah, now you can really see the repeating material. You see how like it's stopping and like repeating for no apparent reason? Well, let me show you what we're doing the projection for, because the carpet was not a good example. Let's click on this. Let's go to the projection and hit the project button. And again, make sure it's set to box. And on the dimensions, I'll do about 150 again. And look, now you have a nice consistent material that does repeat some, but much less. And we could change the size of this if we wanted to. Like if we wanted it to be smaller, we could even go smaller, and you can even see, now you see the repeating because of how small it is. But if you didn't want any repeating at all, you could like even bump it up to like 200. But of course that makes the planks much larger, so it's not quite as appealing. But if you're making a really low resolution game, like you're just going for that aesthetic, you can take your textures and be like 500, 500, 500, and then like lower the resolution of these in Photoshop. And now you've got a really low resolution texture for your low poly game. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to the plaster, and we're going to set that to, as I said, 150 just seems to be the nice gold number for me. I change it occasionally, but there we go. Now we got some carpet there, and we got plaster on the walls. Go ahead and continue setting up yours. Choose whatever materials you want. You don't have to pick the ones I picked, and I'll skip to whenever mine's complete. One quick side note, you'll see that right now, this right-hand room is attached to the hallway, which means that if I make the hallway this carpet texture, then on the right-hand side, this will also be the carpet texture. So I'm gonna teach you guys how to get different areas with different materials real quick while I'm thinking about it for my own sake. We're gonna go ahead and click on that floor. And if we go back to the cube grid, that thing we were using originally, and we grab this whole area, actually, I'm gonna lower it down to power of 2 down to like 3. Yeah, a little bit easier to grab there. Press Q once, then I'm gonna hit complete. We're gonna deselect this, go back to the cube grid, grab this area again, press E, and now we've got another little floor we can use instead. Here is a quick aside. If you're in Unreal Engine 5.1, it will actually create an additional material if you build off of it. So what I mean by that, if you click on the first floor, the big one, the one that we accidentally included in the right-hand room, you'll see on the right-hand side, we have materials element 0, carpet. It doesn't do it in this version, 5.03, I think is what we're in. It'll just keep the same element, but in 5.1, it will create an additional material that you can then use. However, since we are in 5.03, we need to create a second static mesh using the cube grid. So we just build down, click off, go back to the cube grid, build back up, and now you've got an additional floor to play with. All right, I've got mine nice and materialed up. You'll see I haven't added it to the door yet. We'll get to that because that's probably not the static mesh we're gonna use anyway. But let's take a look and see what these materials look like with the lighting turned on. So you can see I went with this nice gritty floor here in the office. And the reason that I did that is I feel like in a security office, they've always got those nice hardwood floors. Well, I guess in this case, not wood. We've got the plaster walls here and that nice soft carpet for the hallways where guests will end up. And in this left-hand room, or right-hand room rather, I got a nice hardwood floor. And on the other side, we also have a little bit of a hardwood floor. Let me know what you guys ended up going with for your styled stuff. I'd love to know. And I'll even show you more ways to make this look nice, but for now, this is a good starting point just to add a little bit of paint to our game. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for continuing to support this series. Like, comment, and subscribe. And please consider donating to my Patreon so I can make a living while I do this. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.